In this video, I will use the Chewlip from Dragon Quest Monsters as a Pokémon in Fire Red. The Chewlip is a carnivorous plant monster that can easily be mistaken for an early-gen Pokémon, since he looks very much like a hybrid between Vileplume and Victreebell. For his stats as a Pokémon, I used an average of his original stats and 3DS stats, weighted slightly more in favor of the original, except for attack, as 19 is actually great for the early game. He will have 84 base HP, 89 attack, 57 defense, 56 special attack, 122 special defense, and 80 speed, for a total of 488. This is similar to the stat totals of Vileplume and Victreebell as well. However, since he gets the last word trait at plus 50, which makes the wielder go last in each priority bracket, in exchange for ailment resistances, I redistributed all of his base speed, including its IV, into both defenses. 31 IV is equivalent to 15.5 base stat points, so he will now have 105 and 170 respectively, rounded up. His default skill set in Terry's Wonderland 3D is Nightmare, which has a lot of sleep-related and MP draining skills. There is no MP in Pokémon, so I gave him HP draining moves instead, plus a few grass and poison moves for flavor and coverage. I will set up a Chewlip with perfect IVs, except for speed, which I'll set to 0, and pre-applied EVs. He will have a neutral nature, because I can edit the base stats directly to make adjustments if necessary. He's based on a Rafflesia, like Vileplume, so the grass and poison typing is a no-brainer. As for his last word trait, there is an ability called Stall that has the same effect, but it's not in this gen. So instead, I made a clone of White Smoke to give him debuff immunity, and set his base speed to 0. This doesn't mean he will have 0 speed, as any stat on a Pokémon cannot be below 5, but it does mean everything will outrun him. EV-wise, max HP is clearly forced, as he's never going first. The rest is split between attack and defense, favoring the latter as he needs as much bulk as possible. He levels up at a medium rate in the original DQM games, so I put him in the same experience group as Vileplume and Victreebell. It's the same group as all the starters, which grows quickly early on, but gradually slows down. The early game trainers and wild Pokémon in Gen 1 give abysmal experience, but I was still able to reach level 15 before Brock, thanks to the quick early growth of the starter experience group. Since Rock Tomb is treated by the AI as a speed debuff instead of a damaging attack, Brock won't use it when you're already slower, but it's a terrible move anyway, so it made no difference here. Although the ROM patch updated most moves to their Gen 5 stats, Rock Tomb was only buffed to 60 power and 95% accuracy in Gen 6. By the way, I had the Chewlip start with Mega Drain because Absorb is pure trash, and the only buff it ever received was 5 more PP, but then so did Mega Drain and Giga Drain. So yeah, they should just remove it from the game, or maybe they already did. What did receive a massive buff was Bullet Seed and similar multi-hit moves, whose base power is now 25 instead of a pitiful 10, making them much more usable even without Technician or Skill Link. The biggest threat in rival battles is usually Sand Attack on his Pidgeotto and later Pidgeot, but this time, my ability gives me debuff immunity, so I won't be losing accuracy to it. I gave the Chewlip Dream Eater at level 20 to pair with his Sleep Powder, but it's really not a good move, especially when you're going second, because there's no guarantee the opponent will still be asleep on your turn. It's only there for thematic purposes, and I'll replace it with Secret Power as soon as I get the TM. Misty Starmie is actually quite overpowered in the early game, so is the move Water Pulse, but I'm a grass type with massive special defense. All I had to do was equip the Persim Berry from the entrance of Mount Moon, just in case I got confused. Petal Dance got buffed to 120 power, and it's one of the only few special moves that make contact. It locks you in and confuses you afterwards, so again, it's not a great move when you're not allowed to switch. The rival battle on the ship has always been a cakewalk, due to how underleveled his team is. This time was no exception, even though I was going second every turn, because his team was simply too weak to do any more than chip damage to my overwhelming bulk. While all of his Pokémon have evolved once, those middle stages are hardly stronger than their base forms, and Raticate is just awful. Surge could be annoying if I got paralyzed and allowed his Raichu to set up double team, which actually happened since I made the stupid mistake of using Petal Dance. Again, it makes contact and can trigger static, and the Cherry Berry only works once, so I made myself vulnerable to being paralyzed a second time by Thunder Wave. It didn't help that I missed the last hit of Petal Dance and confused myself, but fortunately, there wasn't much his Raichu could do, and any of my moves, except Mega Drain, could one-shot it due to how fragile it is. You'll naturally be overleveled for the tower fight against the rival, due to the number of trainers along the way. I gave the Chewlip curse, instead of Swords Dance, which both Vileplume and Victreebell can learn, because he doesn't care about speed anyway, and also most Gen 1 and 2 Pokémon can learn it through the TM. This is going to be an important move later on, since my physical defense isn't that good, despite the boost from last word. Erica's gym was very easy, because I doubly resist grass. I went in with paralysis just so I couldn't be put to sleep, and again, I didn't care about speed since I was going second anyway. She gives the TM for Giga Drain, which has been buffed to 75 power and 10 PP in Gen 5. I will learn it naturally, but I might still need the TM later in the Pokémon League, where I can't change my moves otherwise. I could have given the Chewlip Synthesis for reliable recovery, but it's too overpowered, and it doesn't really make sense as Rafflesia is a parasitic plant. Koga's gym brings a huge level spike, but the trainers on the cycling road and in his gym use many evolved Pokémon that give a lot of experience. I'm immune to Toxic as I'm a poison type myself, but the real annoyance in this fight isn't poison, but accuracy manipulation through Smokescreen and Minimize. Still, I could just buff up with Curse since none of his Pokémon can do a lot of direct damage, and gym leaders don't have EVs in these remakes. I also learned Death Dance, which is an AoE one-hit KO skill in DQM. I gave it 45% base accuracy, because Chewlip has the Crafty Whacker trait that increases the success rate of one-hit KO by roughly 50%. Here I actually have over 55% accuracy due to level differences, as one-hit KO moves in Pokémon gain 1% accuracy for each level the user is above the target. They also ignore all accuracy and evasion changes. It's surprising that Gunk Shot didn't exist earlier, considering how few offensive moves the Poison type had. I'm using the Gen 5 version to be consistent with the ROM patch, so unfortunately, it only has 70% accuracy here. It's still the best move I have against fire types, like the rival's Charizard, and Blaine's Arcanine. Speaking of the rival, the battle at Sylph Company wasn't as hard as I thought it'd be, thanks to my immunity to Sand Attack and Intimidate. His Pidgeot really couldn't do a lot once you took away its annoying debuffs, so I was able to safely set up Curse on it. But the problem was the Execute, which put me to sleep and whittled my HP down to half, and I got incredibly unlucky at the Charizard, getting burned by Flamethrower and missing Gunk Shot. I should have equipped a Chesto Berry for Sleep Powder, but it didn't really matter since all I needed to win was slightly better luck. The following Giovanni battle was much easier in comparison, as his Pokémon were still using trash moves like Poison Sting and Rage for whatever stupid reason. Much like Maxie and Archie's teams in Ruby and Sapphire, I think the dev couldn't even be bothered to give them custom movesets. Sabrina's gym was another easy sweep, despite my weakness to Psychic. Gym leaders don't have EVs in this game, so barring repeated critical hits and special defense drops from Psychic, or Psychokinesis as the move was originally called, her team couldn't do much damage to me. I made Calm Mind compatible, because I think I will need it to have any chance at beating the rival in the champion battle. On paper, Blaine's team would seem to hard counter me, with Fire Blast on everything, and 2 Intimidators, including an Arcanine that's quite bulky for a fire type. However, Last Word gives me immunity to Intimidate, and again, the lack of EVs means they are not nearly as threatening as they might first appear. Arcanine is typical of a Gen 1 or 2 Pokémon designed to have all 6 stats maxed out, but that's no longer possible since Gen 3. I equipped a Rost Berry for potential burns, and put my other Pokémon into the PC just so I couldn't be forced out by Roar. The latter was probably unnecessary because I didn't need to set up Curse at all. I had a big level lead in Stab Gunk Shot, so I didn't need to risk getting burned or critted. Giovanni's team got an inexplicable nerf in the remake, as his Rhydon was replaced by a second Rhyhorn. This is a change that I really can't see the point of. I mean, if it's because the rival also gets a Rhydon in the champion battle, then why not give him a Golem instead? Anyway, I'm a grass type, I can set up Curse to boost my already huge defense, and I can heal myself with Giga Drain. I can't even be poisoned by his Nidos, so I basically can't lose, even if I just pick my moves randomly. The last rival battle before the Pokémon League could be a problem if I took too much damage from his Pidgeot, because I don't know how well I can tank hits from both his Alakazam and Charizard, and they most certainly have EVs now. The AI is clearly aware of the physical special split, as you can see that his Pidgeot switched to Gust after I buffed my defense with Curse. As for why it still has Gust here, well, your guess is as good as mine. His Alakazam tried Disable and missed, instead of attacking me with Psychic or Future Sight. Future Sight actually wouldn't have done much even when buffed to 100 base power, as it's typeless in this gen and hence doesn't get Stab. Maybe I should change its displayed type to normal or neutral, so the AI won't pick it over Psychic, or maybe I should just replace it with Focus Blast. I remembered to equip a Chesto Berry this time, and the AI wasn't smart enough to realize that his Rhyhorn was basically a health pack for me, so I was able to survive the battle comfortably. Here are my stats and moves going into the Pokémon League. My attacks are lacking, but my HP and defenses are great, and I have Curse. Power Whip is just a Grass-type clone of Mega Horn, and it uses my much higher physical attack. I had to give up Giga Drain for it, but I think I'll be fine without recovery, as long as I can get past Lorelei. I equipped a Chesto Berry because Lovely Kiss on her Jinx was a bigger threat than the 10% freeze chance, and I don't know if it has Dream Eater. Her Dugong could only do chip damage with its Ice Beam, but I didn't know her Slowbro had Yawn to put me to sleep as well. Berries only work once without the move Recycle or abilities like Pickup and Harvest, so I was still vulnerable to sleep from her Jinx. It turned out it didn't have Dream Eater, and even though Ice Punch is now physical as it should be, it gets stab and targets my lower defense. I could have still won on 1 health, but Power Whip missed her Cloyster at the worst time, and I got pelted down by hail. Fortunately, this meant that a win wasn't out of reach, and I just need better luck with sleep turns and accuracy checks. In my second attempt, she essentially handed me the win by not using Yawn on her Slowbro. Bruno's team is a complete joke, like always. With the possible exception of Machamp, he has all the worst Pokémon in Gen 1, and I don't know why he has 2 Onix, which isn't even a fighting type. They seem to have forgotten about Primeape and Poliwrath. Those aren't good Pokémon by a long shot, but they at least provide some variety and coverage that other fighting types lack, with moves like Overheat, Thunderbolt, Hypnosis, Hydro Pump, and Psychic. A Persim or Lumberry is pretty much forced for Agatha, but the issue is again that it only works once, while she has multiple Pokémon that can inflict sleep and confusion. I used a Persim Berry as I saw Confuse Ray as the bigger threat due to its 100% accuracy, while Hypnosis only has 60% in this game. My Crunch can easily one-shot her Fragile Ghosts, but it only does non-stab neutral damage to her Golbat and Arbok, and my attack stat is only mediocre without Curse. Her Haunter landed a Hypnosis, and it had Dream Eater as well. Fortunately, its special attack isn't that high, and I didn't get a full 5-turn sleep. Her second Ganger missed its Hypnosis, or I would definitely have lost. Lance might seem hard, but thanks to the horrendous moveset on his leading Gyarados, he turned out to be incredibly easy. His Gyarados has no Dragon Dance or Thunder Wave, and its strongest move is Hyper Beam off of its 60 special attack, so it's just a setup fodder. I had 120 power stab moves, so 2 curses were all I needed to one-shot everything on his team. Outrage on his Dragonite is now also 120 power and physical, but I don't think it has any attack EV, because Dragon was originally special. The biggest threat on his team was actually the Dragonair with Thunder Wave, but again, the AI in this gen isn't sophisticated enough to send it out earlier just for the ailment. In fact, I don't think the AI has the concept of sacrificial enablers at all in these early games like it does now. But again, there was no Trick Room or Stealth Rock, which I consider the most poorly designed move ever in the entire series. It should just be a proximity mine that does more damage but only works once on switch, not a permanent hazard that checks resistances, as Spikes already exists. But I digress. Anyway, I needed to change my moves for the champion battle, so I relearned Giga Drain via the TM, and replaced Crunch with Calm Mind for the special boosts. The only damaging move on his Pidgeot was Aerial Ace, which did chip damage, and not a lot even with a crit. I just used it to set up both Curse and Calm Mind, because the AI was too stubborn or dumb to switch to the Executor for Sleep Powder. Once I've set up enough, I used Giga Drain to heal some HP, and his Alakazam picked Future Sight over Psychic, presumably for the higher base power. I need to undo the buff or replace the move entirely with Focus Blast. His Charizard missed its Fire Blast, but my Gunk Shot connected, so I never had to find out how much damage it would have done. The Executor was annoying and put me to sleep, but it couldn't do a lot without crits, and the Rhydon and Gyarados were just health packs. In conclusion, this run was a lot easier than I expected, even though I was always going last, due mostly to my increased bulk and debuff immunity. Grass and Poison can also be a great defensive combination as well. So, maybe here's a note to Game Freak, or whoever's in charge these days: stop making those slow and fragile Pokémon with horrible typing. No matter how much offensive power you give them, they can't use it when knocked out. Thanks for watching.